If an expat is going to move to the Philippines, the smartest thing he can do is use the free time he has to educate himself. Now, there's a plethora of expat videos, how to live in the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam. We should count ourselves lucky that all this information doesn't really require a whole lot of research other than doing a search on YouTube. Heck, even AI makes all this research really simple. If you want a breakdown, like for instance, let's say you had a question like, when I go to the Philippines, what do I need in terms of a visa? If I want to stay a whole year, what are the requirements to do that? What's expected of me? And you could just type that into whatever AI you want. Now, that's not just ChatGPT. There's Grok and there's Claude and there's Gemini. There's so many out there. Personally, I prefer Venice, but I won't get into all that. But you could just type it into AI, and it's like having a visa specialist who will just lay out and give you this information in a very organized bullet point form. It's not like, even if you're still working, it's not like you can't take an hour or two at the end of the day after you've gone to your job and gotten through traffic, you got home, put on some relaxing clothes, made a cup of tea or coffee, whatever, and then just spend an hour or two and dig through YouTube. Some people still like websites. Those are still a thing, I guess. And educates yourself so that when you do get to the Philippines, you have knowledge, you're prepared. Now, I can understand if you're working 16 hours a day, which some people do still, 16 hours a day, that's your whole waking hours, and you've got 8 hours to sleep. I've done that schedule before. I only had to do it once a week, but I'm telling you, it's hard on your body, because the 8 other hours is for your sleep, your bathing, your commute time. Your meals. It's like all you do is like wake up, work a big long marathon, and then do it again and do it again. That's what that's like. But if you're not doing that, there is no reason why a person should be arriving at Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, wherever. They should not be arriving with the basics still uncovered. There's no excuse. And I know this is a bold claim, but really, when you look at it, there is no excuse to show up blind and ignorant on what's expected of you to survive in another country. Now, some of that is the immigration requirements. Some of that, you might want to know the cost of living. You may want to know laws that apply in that country that do not apply in your country. For instance, that would be a good question to ask AI. And if you were planning on living in Thailand, what laws are there I should be aware of as an American, a Canadian, whatever, when I move to Thailand? Well, in your country, you have free speech, and you can say any insulting thing you want about the president, the prime minister. But when you go to Thailand, if you have anything negative to say about the king, keep your mouth shut, or you will find yourself in jail. You will have angry Thai people reporting you to the police. And it's not like just if you do it on YouTube or Facebook. That's really stupid if you're living in Thailand and you say something negative about the king. But even if you're just hanging out with some people at the bar, and not all, but many of us Western people, we speak with a loud voice. And so if you're ranting on about the Thai king in a negative manner, complaining, if he was really anything, he'd fix this, he'd fix that, I'd do it this way, whatever. A couple of Thai people at the next table, this could get really bad for you. So the point being, there's all this information there. And I am surprised when I'm part of some of the expat groups on Facebook. It never ceases to amaze me that there will be a post and there's some expat. He's been, like one post I saw last year, I think it was in Cebu Expat Forum, something like that. Anyways, and his question to the group was, I've been in Cebu City for 6 weeks. Anybody know where I can get a job? Okay, that is ridiculous. He should have known before he bought his plane ticket. Basically, there is no job that's going to support you in the Philippines as a foreign national. And if you were going to get a job, you would have lined it up before you got here because you're going to need a work visa and you're going to have to be sponsored by the company that's going to employ you. And again, just so you know, before you go running off looking for jobs in the Philippines, if you're lucky and you have a unique skill, maybe in management, and if you could get a job as a supervisor or a manager in, let's say, a call center, you're not going to be making big money. You're going to be doing a job that, if you were doing it in your own country, would probably pay 2 to 3 times more. But you're going to be making more than likely under $700 a month doing that. And that's if you can find a job like that. Most people can't. And so when guys post stuff like this, I'm like, didn't this guy look into this before he bought a plane ticket? No, he bought a plane ticket. He figured, well, I got $3,000 in the bank. That should last me a long time in the Philippines. Well, yeah, that'll last you about 2.5 months. And then he starts thinking, oh, I'll look for a job. Or now there was this other guy, at least he had a plan in place. This other guy, I talked to him a couple of times. This is about 3 years ago. And I answered a lot of questions for him about moving to the Philippines. He ended up living out in, I believe it was Lapu-Lapu, there on Mactan. And his plan was, he was 100% convinced that he could earn money online. Now, he didn't really have anything laid out. He didn't have it running yet. But he figured that between his knowledge of the internet and there's so much potential there, other people are making money on the internet, mostly corporations. He figured, well, I'll move there first. And I told him, this is a bad idea. I said, start your business, your online idea, start it in the States, which is where he was from. When you can make a solid income for 6 months in a row, then move here. He's like, no. I just know I can do it. There's so much opportunity on the internet. So he, against my advice, he went ahead and moved to Lapu-Lapu. And at first he's like, oh, I love it here. This is great. I met this girl and da. I'm like, okay, what kind of ideas did you come up with to make money online? He goes, well, I'm doing it. I'm doing the work. I'm devoting 3-4 hours a day. I'm flipping over stones. I'm checking out these ads. I'm looking at these other possibilities. And, he goes, I'm working on it. And he was. But then I think it was about July, and he messaged me. He said, look, I'm not asking you for money. He goes, but if you've got any ideas how I can make money online, I'd love to hear it. Anything. And so we brainstormed a little bit, and I asked him what he had tried and this and that. But he told me, he said, if I don't come up with $3,000 over the next 2 months, I'll have just enough left in savings to get a plane ticket back to the States. Now that, at least, he was willing to do. You'd be surprised how many guys will spend their last dollar in the Philippines when they know they've been going broke, and then they're there on the expat groups. Hey, I can't get back to the United States. Can you guys help me out? So, 2 more months went by, and he goes, I got to do it. I'm all out of savings. I really thought this was going to work. I really thought I'd be able to crank up just even $1,500 a month income online. It sounds easy, but I spent most of COVID, at least the first 9 months, 10 months. I figured, okay, this is going to last a while. I set aside like $2,000, and I thought I got nothing else to do other than my videos. I'm going to check out all these different, start a website, build a sales funnel, all that stuff you ever hear about. I was like, okay, whatever it is, $35 for this ebook or $55 for that website or this program or whatever, this affiliate. I spent money on all that. I went down all those rabbit holes, and it was all for naught. So off he went back to the States. Who knows? Maybe he regrouped and now he's back again. I don't know. Never heard from him again. But all that to say that if you're going to relocate to another country, just because it's a lower cost of living, you still need a steady income. So take advantage of the information that's out there between websites, YouTube, AI. There's no excuse to show up unprepared. I don't really do consultations that much. I do it for some of the people I've done it for before. Who knows? Maybe I'll do them again sometime, but I'm just spread out so thin between all the things I want to do. I just really can't schedule consultations that much. Now, Geo, my buddy Geo on the Go now, used to be Geo in the Philippines. Now it's Geo on the Go. He does consultations, and he and I are of the same mind. We have the same outlook. If you want to do consultations, contact Geo. If you really want to have a consultation with me, leave me a comment, give me a link to your Facebook, and we'll see what we can work out. But between websites, watching YouTube videos on these subjects, preparing to move to the Philippines, Vietnam, whatever, any kind of AI, and then consultations, cherry on the top, there's really no reason to be showing up at the airport at the Philippines and immigration is, hold on, sir, can I see your QR code for e-travel? What's e-travel? I understand. You don't know what you don't know. That's why you have to take the initiative to find out the things you don't know. Like I said, it doesn't take long to go to any one of the AI programs and ask it. What I do sometimes is I will prime the AI. I tell the AI, I want you to think in terms of, let's say you're going to the Philippines. I'll tell AI first, I want you to think in terms of the Philippines. You are an expert in all things regarding immigration, laws, visas, cost of living. Can you do this? End it with, can you do this? And it will respond. And now it has narrowed down from like the entire planet, Socrates and everything else. Now it's narrowed down your chat. Oh, you want to talk about the Philippines, immigration, cost of living, visas, all that. And it'll say, yes, I can do that. What's your question? Well, now every question you ask it, it's very focused on that area. And you can just start doing your questions. What's required for me to get in the country? What travel issues do I need to concern myself with? How long can I stay? Whatever your questions are. What is the average cost of living for an American lifestyle in the Philippines? Which islands have a metropolitan area? Which islands have a good Western-style hospital? All this stuff, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, all of these, they'll do that. They will answer these questions. So that's why, like I said, when I hear guys in the expat group saying, oh, well, I showed up with only one debit card and the ATM ate it and it wasn't in a mall, it was out by some street. How do I get my card back? I can't access my money. Well, how many times have I covered this in a video? Have multiple ways to access your money. Set up remittance accounts with Remitly.com, World Remit. I'm not a big fan of Western Union, but at least they're good to have as a backup. Have debit cards from myself, I use 4 different banks so that if one expires, well, you just get online, shuffle your money to the next bank, and use that debit card. If you're going to stay here long term, set up your Gcash. That way you can move money to your Gcash, and now you're swiping a card with a limit on it. Whatever you're putting in it, they're not going to access your entire bank account. I mean, these are all the sort of things that have been covered almost ad nauseum. And yet, you see guys posting these kind of idiotic things. And not just about money and visas, relationships too. You know, it's like, I moved to the Philippines on a $900 a month budget. Everything was cool. I was living frugal, but now my girlfriend's pregnant. How can I pay for the hospital bill? What if there's complications? What kind of needs do a baby have? I mean, their expenses just went way out of what they had limited themselves to. And that's if no other medical emergency came up. So I don't say all this to bag on some of you, really. I'm just trying to exhort you and encourage you. Do not show up in another country blind and ignorant about what's required of you. You're not in your home country. You don't have your usual safety net. You don't have family and friends that you can just call up. Hey, I got a flat tire. Can you come pick me up? Whatever. You're live without a net in another country. It's up to you to solve your problems. Now, yeah, once you're here, if you got some buddies, maybe they can help you out. Maybe they can't. But it's not their responsibility. It's your direct responsibility to have your ducks in a row. And that doesn't mean it's all going to go smooth. You know, things go wrong. Things blindside you, which is why you need to be a problem solver. If you say to yourself, well, I'm not really the problem solver kind of guy, you better become one, because you will have a problem eventually overseas. And the better you are at not panicking, not getting emotional, just look at the situation, find a solution. The better you can pull that off, the smoother your life will be in another country. So, love to hear your thoughts on all this, and see you there in the comments.